Again, my name is Eliad Saporta. I'm founder and CEO of a company called Coriander. We're a backend as a service provider for financial institutions, from acquirers, issuers, the virtual IBANs, etc. We orchestrate the entire value chain on that part. For our topic today, we're going to talk about cards. We have a lot of the different panels and sections. I talked once about agentic payments and then account to account, and now going a little bit old school, nearly about cold cards in the industry on that part. I think we'll start with Livio in terms of you're a manufacturer of cards, you're printing them, that part, which is a bit unorthodox if you think about it today. So I think the best question for you would be, if I think about how to pronounce it on cards on that part, like how did the payment card evolving and you think it's going to stay in terms of the manufacturers of plastic itself? It's with the dominant today of mobile wallets and how they're picking up in the market. Where do you see let's say, the role of plastic in the near future?
Okay, thank you very much. So yeah, we are car producer, but also we have a digital solution. Our concept is we like digital, but not digital only. So in the digital area, we have a solution for artificial intelligence, digital wallet, tokenization, but we still produce plastic. In the previous panel was a lot of discussion about cards. Everybody know the cards appear in 1950 in New York. Was a rich man which go to the restaurant. He forget his wallet at home, and he was thinking how to pay, and he invented a card. It was a paper card, then became a plastic card. Then the technology added the magnetic stripe. Then appeared the chip. Then appeared contactless. Next, there was a tokenization and digitalization. So the card it exists for 75 years, and in our opinion, in the industry opinion, as also the colleagues from the previous panel said, the plastic will continue to exist because the plastic is not competitor of mobile phone or digital wallet. The plastic it's in the same ecosystem with this digital solution.
You think in the future our kids will still carry around plastic with them rather than having mobile applications and doing that?
For sure.
Interesting. I think
Any process, and at least the payment process, need a backup.
yeah.
If your battery die of the phone, if you lose the phone, okay, you can lose also the wallet.
Yeah, but today, if you think about it, you have alternatives, let's say the wearables and stuff like that, like rings with NFC holding the cards. So rather than having a plastic holding the NFC chip,
So
you have other ways to do that rather than the plastic.
for the middle future, the plastic will continue to stay, maybe in another format, but will continue to stay.
Personally, I have no doubt that the cards are here to stay. With a lot of wallets that we see out there in the industry, as much as they're technical savvy, still carry the card behind it. And even, let's say, the network tokens and everything still carry the card identifier behind it. It doesn't matter the method of implementation and using it, but we're still going to see cards for many years to come, even with the accounts and the banking, open banking, and any other alternative payment method on that structure. I think a question for everybody before we start in kind of understanding where you see the future. Where do you see your role and where the company's right now investing in future months and years going forward and the evolution of different payment method and infrastructure? Decta, you started from acquiring and then went into issuing and then white labeling that solution for other companies to leverage your technology. Where do you see the emphasis of the company right now going forward?
Well, I think the main focus is on the higher margin services. And at the moment, we are trying to establish more entities with principal membership and licenses across Europe and in the UK. So this was the direction that we took in the past, let's say 2-3 years. And the obvious kind of next step is to not only provide acquiring to the merchants, but also extend the services to multi-currency accounts and eventually issue cards for them. Because I think, at least that's the direction that we are taking at the moment. If you are already servicing one category of a client, you might as well extend the line of services that you provide to them to kind of provide additional value and potentially also increase the margin that you can get from one customer. So I think this is the journey that we are taking at the moment. We're doing it under the licensed entity of Decta Cyprus. But we, of course, still keep providing our kind of core services, which is the technology, the issuer and acquire processing, which in a way is very smart business, low margin, but once you have the client, it's very hard for them to migrate from your solution. And if they increase the volumes, you are just simply increasing the net profit per client.
Increasing the financial services you give to a merchant who's processing you through the acquirer channels and then giving you the bank account and then the card to spend the funds. You're holding the cards, the funds in your accounts for longer. That's interesting. But don't you think that providing that technology as a white label solution is going off track of what you're currently doing and then not focusing on the actual financial services you're offering?
Actually, there are several entities in the group. So it may look like from the outside, and we are actually doing some efforts to change the perception from people looking from the outside at the Tecta group, because we're a group of companies. But in fact, the core business was always the technology, so the processing of transactions, authorizations, and transactions. And then we obviously become an acquirer in the UK and kind of copy-pasted the model and started doing it for the EEA region as well. And obviously, once you have the license, it's kind of obvious that you continue investing and providing more services. And in fact, those other companies who have the license, they are our clients for the technology. So we are not only servicing the clients from inside of the group, but also, of course, outside of the group.
Fantastic. So what do you think, Gabriel? Where's the future of cards going to look like and how you guys are investing in the future?
Here's the Gabriel. I'm Peter, but it's fine.
So
first of all, I have to tell you, I'm really disappointed because we didn't mention AI.
Yes.
Even a single
We
time.
just started.
But okay. I see the future in AI. No, joking aside. Well, depends on the perspective. And my perspective is the boring one of the incumbent bank, not of the sexy challenger or a vendor or something like this. So in terms of how we will continue doing stuff, definitely we will not quit any of the current activities. We are holding with another bank almost 80% of the market. And that tells you something. So it also means a lot of responsibility. But where there is a significant room for improvement, it's in the processes. So, for example, one of the things which we did right is the digital issuing. Nothing new. Let's be honest, this is something which is quite present there for, 10 plus years. But for us, it was a novelty because we didn't have it. We did it 1 year ago, and literally you could feel two things. The overall increase in the number of cards. You will always have people who try something and then just, it was one transaction or no transactions. On the other hand, what was really interesting for us is that one of the cards which was intended for the youth, which was not so successful, let's put it diplomatically, we saw increase in 300% in the number of the cards. And we were like, what's the problem? And this is, you didn't catch the right market segment. So to zoom out, if we want to continue doing something and, to go pair in pair with the challengers and everybody, both in issuing and acquiring, we need to, and it will sound like, cliche, but we need to listen to the customers, because the times where they would come to us and we would dictate the terms, it's probably past gone. So definitely takes as a central part, and listening to their needs, it's something that we need to do in a right way to continue to exist and develop.
Florian, what do you think? We started with Livio, so let's Florian.
Okay, so from a traditional bank perspective, now the reality is that we are both issuer and acquirer. And when I say acquirer, we have the subsplit, we have POSs, and then we have ATMs, because nobody's actually talking about ATMs, but they are still a thing. Now, what we've done so far is actually evolving our digital ecosystem. And this started 10 years ago when we issued all of our cards with contactless. I know that 10 years ago seems like a far amount of time in the past. And since then, now we are at 40% transactions that happen with a digital wallet. So we've evolved from physical card to digital wallets. We have everything available for our customers that's available in Romania, like Apple, Google, Garmin, even Xiaomi Pay, which is not that popular here. Now, the point is that I will just give an example in e-commerce, because that's a space where, like 20 years ago, you had your card details, you had your CVV, and that was pretty much it. And now you have 3DS, you have risk-based authentication, and you have SCA authentication, which can be either biometric, it can be either through a fallback, which is static password and OTP and so on and so forth. Then we now have click to pay that's coming and so on. We have agentic commerce that's going to come at some point in time. I know that this is a buzz right now, but it's already here, but it's still under development. Rules are still being set up by both card schemes so that SCA compliance happens, because at the end of the day, we need to build trust for the customer that he can still use those agents and be certain that actually what he ordered is what he's going to receive, not something that, I don't know, an agent just hallucinated during the daytime, right? So there's a complete evolution in how we handle processing right now in the space of e-commerce as opposed to what we did 20 years ago. And it's a huge impact, and it's so fragmented that you need to check like multiple issues, and you need to check multiple parameters and so on and so forth. And this is the kind of technical evolution that is going to happen for the future with agentic AI, or if cards are still going to be here, I personally think that as well. So I'm going to help you out a bit.
Cards or plastic?
The plastic cards, yeah, are still going to be with us. Look and feel, designs, alternative materials, and so on. Maybe niched, but they are still going to be here with us.
Actually, I just wanted to refer to something you said, and I think it's ultimately important. So, okay, the buzz, the trends. Do you guys remember 5 years ago about the big hype about metaverse? Yeah. Where is metaverse today? So honestly, about the agentic commerce, I have high hopes, but I am, as you said, like super worried, because whoever worked with AI, which is probably everyone, you know how bad they are with hallucinating. And it's not getting better. I mean, literally, I'm having fights with, which is ridiculous because it's AI, with them because they're hallucinating. And my personal fear as a user and as a banker is that something like this, if it's not on the right level, you will end up buying 55 inflatable pools or something like that. So,
but on that, we actually had a panel earlier about agentic commerce and all of that, and we talked about with Visa as an infrastructure and how they protect it. And then my approach is that not just the agent itself is the risk, but also fraudulent merchant that will take advantage of someone trying to buy and will imitate a legitimate website just to get the agent to buy from them and not from the other. But then it kind of touches the same topic here about card issuing. A lot of the ways to go around, let's say, the agent limitation is to issue a prepaid card with the limit of spending on that card, but then kind of bypassing the fact, is it an agent buying or is it someone inputting the virtual card that he just got from whatever provider he wanted to use? So I think you touched nicely on the 3DS and the strong customer authentication in the process. It will come into effect when we're talking about agentic payments. But on the other hand, how do you fight the onboarding risk on that part? All of you onboard, let's say, the card users, let's say, differently, each one with their traditional methods, different. You are more technical savvy within the approach, or even providing the technology to other programs working underneath your license. I think each, with the risk coming out and the different, let's say, do you call it, falsified individuals, let's say, different IDs that you can find on the dark web, etc. Why do you see the onboarding challenges when it comes right now to card issuing?
No chance.
It's easy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question for AML, and I'm also coming from business. But what I can tell you about this part, the challenges are there. It's getting harder and harder. Still, you have some relatively simple ways how to differentiate AI from a human being, but I'm wondering how this will look in within 2 years. Will it undermine what we have right now in terms of the digital onboarding and the perfect UX, which is getting better and better? It's a $1 million question. I mean, it's a $1 billion question with the potential of the fraud, which can happen. But I am optimistic. I mean, as you can, as a human being, LinkedIn. I mean, unfortunately, probably all of us are on LinkedIn. And 95 to 98% of the posts are today AI generated. And we have some human detector for these kind of things. So I think that human expertise with the right AI tools will also enable us to keep this under control. but it will look significantly different than it is today. Because on one hand, we are very spoiled as customers, myself included. I mean, we have high expectations of the UX, of the speed. There's a famous, which we touched briefly, 90 seconds frame of getting client onboarded, etc. On the other hand, you have the security part. So it's finding the fine line between two of these things. And on the other hand, for me, it's never about the 90 seconds or 3 minutes, or it seems like a little bit, inaccurate, because I would say it depends on the culture where it's applied, because probably people are more patient to wait in some cultures, in the other not, but there's an average. The point is, like, we need to do the minimal compliance with the idea of having client interested with additional, I would say, picture, images, gamification, whatever, but the attention span is the real challenge there. So, my opinion.
Florian, you guys launched the secure customer authentication a while ago, and then you saw the adoption, say, coming from users and the decrease in fraud at that part. Did you make changes as well in the onboarding, as we asked?
Yeah, in reality, it's something that was a challenge, is a challenge, and will always be a challenge. Now AI is just, okay, we're using AI to fight AI. It's this funny thing where it can be used for good, it can be used for bad, and so on and so forth. Now, we have some adaptations here. We have integrations with local law enforcement agencies and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, it is really difficult for a customer to onboard that's not a real customer, because we have some back checks that we can do with databases from government institutions that we can like triple check things. We still have video identification of the customer. I'm not saying that that's something that cannot be overpassed by a very good AI, but there are still some checks and balances. But I am going to go back to what you mentioned, because in reality, it's UX time as opposed to potential fraud. So it's a balance needs to be there, right? And of course, everybody wants to be onboarded in like 1 minute, 90 seconds, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, there might be a need where some onboarding flows take more than 90 seconds due to, additional security checks and so on. What I am saying is that not all onboarding flows need to go through this heavy security checking. At the end of the day, even if some fraudulent individual is going to onboard with us, we'll have checks and balances afterwards where we see, okay, what's going on in terms of, account balance, transfers that go on, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, I would say we are there. We haven't really encountered that type of fraud where, okay, we never thought of this. Yet. I'm using the word yet.
The market always changes.
Of course.
With the risks, and also the fraudulent actors, unfortunately, are, let's say, much faster than innovations on that part. There's always new ways to fraud, let's say, whatever it's the acquirer or if it's the issuer on that point of view. For Decta as a group in total, do you see that you leverage, let's say, the issuing data that you have in the acquiring and vice versa when taking decisions on which programs to take and how to evaluate?
So actually, the businesses are quite divided. So we are technology provider, which are mostly servicing companies globally. And then we have the licensed entities that we actually service on both acquiring and issuing side. Now, we can actually leverage these when you have so-called startups or small companies, or let's say companies who have existing business and they want to try issuing or let's say acquiring, and not ready to invest into heavy principal membership, go through the 6-month onboarding, even longer, hire dedicated team, which will be working on the projects and implementation. So for these guys, we are ready to go with the white label solution and kind of leverage the licenses and, kind of be the enablers also from the license perspective.
License and tech is a combination. We see competition like Air Wallets and other providers are giving you both the solutions for the virtual IBANs, the card issuing, and the acquiring side, leveraging behind the fact that they have the data also to protect their programs working on the method. And you guys have the same leverage on that part, sharing the data from years of processing transactions on one end, identifying the data, and then providing that with the tech and the license together.
Exactly. But if I can just comment on that one, it's also a quite tricky business, the white labeling one, because, for example, we are like really, really confident in the technological part because we've been doing it for a decade, and we are categorizing ourselves as a so-called challenger player in this field, like very modern and end-to-end provider. And then you work with, these kind of small startup issuers and acquirers who have, up to 10,000 cards, or, several merchants that they want to sort of play with and be an acquirer or PSP. And then, many of them, to be honest, die or not make it through, first 2, 3, 5 years. And those who grow eventually go for the principal membership. So you actually lose the client. You will keep them on the technological side, so as a processor, but you will lose them as a potential BIN sponsor or even white label gate provider or payment facilitator, which is a kind of popular model on the acquiring side. So it's quite tricky. We are very often actually outsourcing this part, because also if you want to be the licensed, let's say, sponsor, BIN sponsor on the issuing or acquiring side, you have to have internal processes, and also your compliance team have to be dedicated for this part of the business. So it's also operational heavy. So in many cases,
risk, of course.
Exactly. So in many cases, we actually stick with the technological part. Then we let our licensed entities do their own primary business, and we only choose the white label solutions that we actually believe that they make sense.
So we touched AI, but now we have to touch crypto as well and stable coins on that part. But we see a lot of adoption coming through right now are the virtual cards that are connected to a crypto wallet. The passive issuing with actually the product itself is the crypto wallet, but then having a prepaid, let's say MasterCard, etc., that comes with different programs automatically taking from your balance. To the extent that even Tether invested directly into a startup that does that, they're issuing with a MasterCard at that level. What do you think in terms of the risk, if you're right now from the bank point of view or the issuer point of view, the risk about facilitating such a solution such as that? Because it's not your traditional, like your licensees right now doing financial with an EMI, MSB, depending on the financial license. Suddenly, it's a crypto wallet. You see the conversion. You don't know the KYC coming from, travel rules, and all the other verification process. So what kind of a tingle do you get? Because, Peter, I said crypto with a card. You started shaking a bit.
Yes, we have a regulator where we report. And
I didn't say you're doing it. I said, what's your opinion on that?
as a physical person not employed in the bank, all the best.
Your personal opinion.
As an employee of the bank, I'm quite scared of the topic. So, no, I mean, in terms as an idea, which is yet to be tested, and as crypto enthusiast, I like the idea. The practical problem, I can speak only for Republic of Moldova, is that we are very cautious because the geopolitical position of Moldova is very specific. Not to go into details probably, but we are very vigilant as a country on anything which cannot be fully tracked like crypto. So the regulation is quite strict. So I like the idea, but any kind of implementation within the Republic of Moldova, which is the market that I'm responsible currently for, it's probably years ahead.
Florian, what do you think? You use it. We don't tell anybody at the bank. Don't worry. The conversation is not recorded.
No comment. I think that pretty much I share Peter's thoughts. So as an individual, yeah, it's cool, it's nice, it's niche. I would use it. Now
IRS is not here. Don't worry.
Yeah,
we're not going to report how much you have in your wallet.
I would use it. Now, at the end of the day, it's very difficult even for Romania, not just for the Republic of Moldova. It's very difficult to have that as a traditional bank in terms of regulation, legislation, and so on. And the optics around crypto are always in this roller coaster, where today is the hype, tomorrow is the dip, so on and so forth. We're going in this unforeseen territory where it's just up and down and up and down. There's no balance in between. And I do think that for now, maybe a card linked to stablecoins makes some sense. Linked to anything else, I don't think that the customers really want to do that. It was a hype like 10 years ago when crypto was like the thing.
Stablecoin became much more mainstream right now. People are using it for cross-border payments. Some businesses even, you have banks in Mexico working with merchants in Europe and transferring the settlement, even to the extent of European acquirers are paying settlements in USDT to their merchants.
I'm not saying it's not something to be looked into. I'm just saying that for a traditional bank, it's...
We're talking about you as a personal individual. I told you guys, you're not representing...
Me as a person?
We're stop representing the bank.
First thing doing it tomorrow. Me as a person. Yeah.
But Gabriel, what do you think? I think Gabriel has a different opinion.
Unleash the beast.
As an individual and...
Yeah, so I'm actually a user of crypto myself, but honestly, I don't see the problem even for a bank. But you have the MiCA license, you know. I mean, if you have the MiCA license, it means that the client has to be verified, and there's an AML process, so you know what is the origin of the fund. So I don't see the problem having a crypto card even issued by a bank. To be honest, like, what is the issue, especially if it's a stable card? And regarding the other crypto, well, that's not your problem. It's a problem of the end user who is accepting the volatility. And if you're talking about the two biggest ones, there's not that much volatility, to be honest. And, you know, crypto bros, they have few Bitcoins. Like, I mean, honestly, they don't care of a couple hundreds of euros or thousands of euros even of volatility. So I don't see the problem even. And I don't know why the banks are so scared of this, especially when we have the MiCA already present. But again, maybe MLRO of your bank would be better person for the discussion.
I left the best question for last.
We will introduce you to some people from the national banks. You will enjoy the discussion.
A really fun conversation where we don't see the problem. Have you worked in a traditional bank? Then you will see the problem. Because in all honesty, when you lose 30% of something, and what we preach as a bank is like financial health, okay, get investments, get so on and so forth. And at the end of the day, I'm telling you, get crypto, pay with this card. And you know what? Ethereum just dropped 30%. You bought something of 1,000 euro, now it's worth 700. And for what? To make some payments with it. I'm not talking about stable coins here, but crypto in general. Stable coins are another topic, but people still link crypto with traditional crypto, which is like...
Not necessarily. On the card issuing side, they're usually sticking with the traditional, with the stable USDT on that part, because it is becoming more mainstream. Cards is the way to go ahead and let's say do that.
Yeah.
When you have literally acquirers right now, we serve as a technology provider, we serve acquirers. Same as they provide a white label, we don't have a license, we just focus on technology. And we had a conversation last week that an acquirer wants to handle settlements directly to USDT. We handle the conversion, but there is a way to validate the wallets that you're paying to. There's what's called travel rules. It's the same as you're doing KYC. You're validating the wallet addresses that you're transferring through. And today with technology, you can go all the way back on, let's say, the origin of every single transaction that wallet did, because that's the beauty of the blockchain and how crypto actually works. You can keep track of them. There's a smaller, we're finishing. I love it. I love it when they're screaming at me in the back. So there are ways right now. And I know traditional banks, the problem is usually not you guys, you're amazing, but it's the person,
the others.
It's the personnel, because why we had a conversation over at Money 2020, a lot of things on how would you get AI into a traditional bank point of view, because you have traditional bankers working at the bank and then getting some AI enthusiast coming from outside of the bank to come in. You can't really certify his credentials. And if it's not some guy that tries ChatGPT last week and did a presentation and managed to impress someone at the board on that part, and the need of actually having a certification, like you have a CPA certification to have a CIPA certification, of having individual that understand AI to the extent of going, or getting someone from the bank as an employee that understands the background and everything else, and to start learning AI. And I think we need to do the same for stable coins on that part, like you have the stable euro. Oh, another question. Fantastic. So you have a stable euro coming in. You do want to get that interaction because people do have the funds and they want to spend it in a way, not just to liquidate it somewhere or transfer it eventually to someone who's going to put it into the banking system. News for you, USDT is finding its way into your banks and everything with all sorts of, let's say, specialty. If you want advice on how, talk to me later on that part. But Livio, you wanted to say something. Let me finish with you.
As I said previously, we like digitally, but not digital only. We have to see the reality. In the world, there are 30 billion cards. In the world, there are 8 billion people. So it is an average of 4 cars per people, but in reality, it's not like this. In US and West Europe, it's 6, 7 cars per people. We are talking here about Central and Eastern Europe, it's around 2. So the cars will continue to exist. Also, specifically in Romania, I don't know, in other countries, there are a lot of cash. The biggest company who manipulate the cash is not a bank. It's a Romanian Post, because they take a cash and pay the pension. And also imagine that not only in Romania, the 50-50 population is rural and urban. Rural doesn't have internet, so no digital.
You do have the, let's say in Africa, for example, is a good topic. They do another type of stable coin, but the coin is airtight. And they've been doing it for years, even before Bitcoin came on. Maybe not before Bitcoin came around, but before it became mainstream on that part. And it's a beautiful exercise on how actually trading that virtual currency, which is air, on that part. We're good. So guys, thank you very much. I really enjoyed the conversation, going all the way from plastic to crypto at the end of it. On that part, thank you everyone. Thank you for sticking with us. And look, the sun came out, so